Hey, how y'all doing today? And welcome to the show. I'm Dion Royal, and welcome to the Red Flags Only podcast, where we dive into things you thought you understood, but might have missed all the warning signs along the way. Now, earlier this week, a very good friend of mine informed me that we spend about 15,000 hours in school from grades K through 12. And I got to thinking to myself, well, if it takes 10,000 hours to be considered as being a master or having mastery of a skill, then how come our babies really don't know shit by the time they graduate? I mean, in real shit, like educators, this one is actually kind of aimed at you, and I'll tell you why later. I actually hope you take it personal too. Get on my ass. I'm with the shits. I want the smoke right now anyway. But then maybe you'll do something different. Make it make sense for me at least. Now, I probably should have prefaced this statement by saying that this friend is an expert in education and the data analytics around it. This was not just me and the homies just out kicking it and conversating at the bar shooting the shit. He's really the real deal, and he has a powerful national platform where he's dealing with this issue specifically. I might actually interview him about this subject. I think that would probably be dope for my first interview. Y'all will learn something, and that's for sure. But this is what I want y'all to think about. Now think about it for real. With an extra 5,000 hours, are the students masterful at anything specific? I'll wait. Now 10,000 hours cutting hair, right? And you are considered a master barber. You qualified to teach others. You know what I mean? If you spend any other amount of time doing anything like this, like opera, violin, martial arts, boxing, you would be considered an expert in your field, and people would pay you to utilize them skills to teach others how to do the exact same thing. It's the same thing with like computers, technology. I believe if you put a bunch of shorties in if you put them in a room and 8 hours a day, they was fucking with rocket scientists, they would know a whole lot more about physics, chemistry, and probably rocket science. But I digress. Everybody would tell you that you don't know what you talking about because you don't be there. But that's a whole nother thing. We'll get to that too. But how come students all over the nation do not usually have a bankable skill unless they're an athlete, they play an instrument, or sing? And that's really like winning the genetic lottery. Everybody don't, all of us play basketball. Everybody can play basketball. Everybody ain't growing to be 7'1" and shit. And then everybody that grow to be 7'1" ain't gonna be able to move like they 5'1" and jump out the gym. So again, these things are all subjective when it comes to it. But how come it ain't an enterprising group of young people that like started their own tax service in high school, auto body shop at 16, beauty salon at 10? And I'm just throwing the shit at the wall a little bit, but I think you might get my point. Niggas really be in school 13 years and graduate after 15,000 hours they can barely read, dog. How? But I also want to juxtapose that against this. There are also people that are fairly skilled. They can read a little bit and shit, and do a little math, and they complete their 15,000 hours and still got to compete with and against the niggas that can't read. Take that shit in. Take that shit in real quick. You done did your 15K, they done did they 15K. You've done way better at your 15K. You done at least retained a few skills and shit. And guess what? You got to go out and compete with them. And you'll probably get the job, but when you get the job, you live in the neighborhood with this hungry nigga. He gonna rob you. So what was the point? You know what I'm saying? His 15K, your 15K, y'all all did the same time. You decided to do some shit different, and in the end, he still ended up robbing you. Ain't that a bitch? But I do think we're missing a broader point of how education, the way it's currently structured, does not work for our society, let alone our kids. We're pumping out a bunch of confused, anxious, and far below mediocre products because why? What reason? Corporate interests, politics. Now, when faced with the sheer numbers and the raw data, we really got to take a look at how we, the adults, are going about this. The kids don't really have a choice. They got to roll with whatever the fuck we tell them. I believe the environment you create is key, but unfortunately, so many parents aren't equipped mentally, physically, financially, or spiritually to deal with the children in the environment that many parents have yet to overcome. It's really hard to get past any of that. You know what I'm saying? They just not ready for it. And then let's not mention that there are some teachers that are struggling to cope with some of these same issues. They not exempt, they not immune just because they're a teacher. There's also some systemic issues that need to be dealt with on the administrative side that would help accelerate the deal for teachers and students. But the issue here is that we get to throw a pity party for everybody but the kids. Now, I've worked in a multitude of schools, and in many schools, particularly at the high school level, students tend to find a safe space with people like me, and on many occasions have let me know that most times they feel like the teachers are there to stunt on them or get down on them, as they say. That's, you know, but okay, I'll translate that because that's the young people slang. I translate into New English Ebonics for all you old niggas, and that means that the grown people come to school. And they find a way to act better than the kids. I'm coming with you again. When y'all come to school, the kids feel like y'all coming in there to act like you're better than them. And then many instances, you got the nerve to tell them that you ain't even going to put in the effort to teach them because you got yours and they need to figure out how they can get theirs because maybe they disrespected you or maybe they're a little rough around the edges and they didn't show you the level of respect you feel like you deserve. Now, I'm paraphrasing all this, but don't act like this shit ain't familiar. If it ain't you, it's a motherfucker that you work with that you know, and you done seen this shit in action and you ain't never said shit. And so when I ask them same kids, how come I get a pass? They say the respect is here because the respect feels mutual. You don't act like you better than us, and you don't treat us like outcasts. And I always emphasize the point to the kids that I work with that I am no better than you. I come from the same place you come from, and I'm not here to show you anything other than how you can overcome the situation just like I did. It don't have to be a one-way thing. You know what I mean? Just like you learning from me, I come here every day and I'm learning from you. A lot of us as adults, we get to this point where we just feel like we just feel like we don't have to we've gotten to a point in life where we drive a nice car, we live in a nicer neighborhood, and we get our ass on our shoulder sometimes, and we feel like can't nobody tell us shit. But again, we're not here for that when we're in a school amongst our young people. We actually here to show them how they can get to where we can get. And if we were the greatest kids, or we listened all the time, a lot of us will probably be further along than we actually are now. It's all a learning process, and I don't think we giving our young people the grace that they deserve or that they really need in this situation. I once had a kid in a group home that was deemed like public enemy number one on campus. And because I was a rookie, they put him on my roster without really warning me about any of his capabilities. This motherfucker is strong as Thor, you know what I'm saying? He's the Incredible Hulk when he get mad. But they just figured that I figured that shit out based on his track record because he's volatile. He gonna snap. Now a week goes by and nothing. First paycheck go by, nothing. A month go by and a coworker come to me and say, hey, so-and-so haven't tried you yet? And I'm like, tried what? And he's like, the coworker say, he usually send at least one person to the hospital a month, staff or student. We always calling the police on him. Now I'm shocked, but I play it off and say, nah, I can't say I've ever seen that level of behavior out of shorty. I made sure to be prepared though. Now I immediately get back to the youngster and I ask if all of this was true. He nods at me sheepishly and then he looks me dead in the eye and he tells me, I never do that to you. And I asked him why. I said, why? And he told me. He said, ever since he saw me in my very first day at work, he said that I always said good morning, asked him how he was doing, and let him finish his breakfast sandwich or whatever snacks he had before school, as opposed to taking his shit and tossing it when I was working security. I let that shit sink in and I realized we really got grown people coming up in here antagonizing kids. Cause they life hard, cause they mad and shit. You know what I'm saying? Most grown people that can deal, most grown people period in life, they dealing with stuff. They got shit going on, you know what I'm saying? But most grown people have to be able to compartmentalize at some level of the game. You know what I'm saying? Go cry in the car, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you feel it away, feel that way outside. But when you get ready to come in these doors, check your shit. You know what I'm saying? Wipe your face. You know what I'm saying? Pull your big boy drawers up, and then go about the business of being in business. And if you gotta take a break, and you gotta go on your lunch and cry in the car, go cry in the car, nigga. But you get paid. You have a responsibility. You're accountable to the young people that you're around, and you got to check yourself. And I don't know how many people need to hear that, but y'all really need to check y'all fucking self when it comes to y'all personal shit and how y'all deal with kids. Now, this kid gets the label of being the bad seed or public enemy number one just because of the ambivalence of the adults charged to care for them. And so we get to absolve the adults and the system, but the shorties got to catch hell. The easiest target for this too is the parents, and you best believe they got to catch the brunt of this because they're responsible for creating the best environment that they capable of in order to nourish and enrich their children's lives. Now, many of them tried their best, but most just ain't equipped to deal like that, especially not from a financial standpoint. I'm not even gonna bring mental, physical, emotional into there, but I mean, money goes a long way towards being able to kind of help situations or make situations a little bit more bearable. I ain't gonna say money make the world go. Money does make the world go round, and I ain't gonna say money is the root of all evil or anything that. But I know this: money could be the root of all evil. But I know some pretty happy people with money. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. Now, millions of children would benefit from a personal tutor, but really only a couple of hundred parents can actually afford it. And if we gonna break it down to black parents, 5 or 10, you know what I'm saying? 5 or 10 per, and those kids are generally kids that were gonna be okay to begin with. These are the parents that had the financial means to just kind of make sure that, they kind of give them that extra nudge across the finish line. Now, there's so many obstacles for parents to navigate. Some are systemic, some are self-inflicted, but that is absolutely no excuse for not controlling what you could control. Shit like too much screen time, junk food, TV, social media, negative home environment, chaotic parents, community violence, and all kind of shit like that come into play. And to some degree, we do have control over all these things, except for maybe how niggas act in the community. But if them niggas that are a detriment to the community and they continue to find them, if them niggas are a detriment to the community and they continue to find themselves in your kid's space, in your space, then goddamn it, you a part of the problem, and you need to fix that shit before pointing the finger at anybody else. I'm gonna say it again though. Most parents want the best for their kids. Most just don't know what that looks like, let alone how to get there, And see now that we talked about the students and the parents, we really got to talk about the teachers and the school administration. I have been married to an amazing teacher for over 20 years. I have worked in several schools over the years. I am not speaking out my ass right now. I'm speaking from real life experience. I know that teaching is absolutely one of the toughest jobs a person could possibly have, and it is probably the most rewarding job from a standpoint of lifelong impact. Now, with all that being said, if you don't love to teach and you don't love children, get the fuck out the classroom. I'm going to say it again. If you don't love to teach and don't love children, get as far the fuck away from the classroom as possible. There is a certain level of sacrifice and dedication that it takes to be in the classroom 5 days a week. And I am someone who has benefited from and greatly appreciate those people. I'm married to one. And in my opinion, every teacher should strive for that level of greatness. Like my 4th grade teacher, Miss Betty Jean Robinson, the award-winning peanut lady. Y'all can Google search her. Or my high school journalism teacher, Joseph Scotise, a tall, slouchy white dude that looked like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, but had 17-year-old me looking forward to that 1 hour per school day where I had the opportunity to be excellent. Just one opportunity to be great today, and he was going to give me every chance to show up and show out, to be seen as a student. Oh, what a glorious feeling. I cannot forget Alvin Williams, the quirky biology teacher that told us to treat women like fine china and showed me how to make 200 proof beer in my freshman year. And I won't leave out Dr. Go, my quirky Asian hardware teacher in tech school. He saw that I was a little more interested in this shit than my friends and started giving me all manner of shit and equipment that I didn't need but eventually found useful. He has a big hand in what I'm doing right now at this very moment. Now, the people that I just named, these people love to teach. I mean, they love this shit. God put that shit in their blood, and there's anointing on them folks that light shine wherever they go. You can see that aura, and that shit is like a purple glow. You know what I mean? Whenever there are three or more gathered in His name, God is present, and these unique individuals are God level teachers. The final bosses of teaching, if you will. They come up with the smoke every day, and you better be ready. But the problem with that is they have set an extremely high bar, and very few, if any, will even attempt to come close to what they do or have attained. And what I think is really interesting is that most people remember either they're really good teachers or they're really bad teachers. I believe the problem lies with the mediocre or below average teachers, though. The ones that had aspirations to do other shit and didn't make it teaching. So this is where they ended up, you know what I'm saying? They just ended up teaching. You know the ones, the English teacher that had the book that didn't sell and now spends his days telling young writers that that's probably better than him, that they don't, or had the potential to be better than him, that you'll never become a writer. Or the music teacher that was in a band and his album with Triple Wood, and now he spends his days telling kids with potential to be great that their music sucks. or the folks that ain't even there to educate the kids. They there to sexualize and prey on the kids, being inappropriate and putting forth zero effort on kids' behalf. Y'all know the ones too. The problem is you just as bad if you come to work with these clowns every day and see the bullshit and quietly go home and go on about your business. But do you really want to know who's the most important person in the building on most days? I can give you a guess, but all y'all ass is probably wrong, especially if you thought I was going to say you. The most important person in the building on any given day at any school is the school lunch lady. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about a lunch lady from out west named Miss Willa Mae. You see, this lady had a crazy superpower that allowed her to calm and communicate with the wildest savages through the exchange of food. She could see the hunger in their eyes and see the youngsters, and always seemed to come up with a little something extra when them boys would come through the cafeteria with their stomachs sounding like boots in the dryer. And even though them young guys believed at the time that her power lied in the exchange of food, the grown man in me knows now that it was her innate ability to pass on the love to these young people, even the least of these, even the ones most in need, through that food. She always had it for us, and we never had to ask. You never realize how many times she was able to prevent something foul or dangerous from happening with a grilled cheese sandwich or a piece of square pizza and chocolate milk. Nothing you did on your best day was on par with what she did daily. You could teach your ass off, but the school lunch lady is the fabric of what makes a school great. So we get to make excuses for everyone but the kids. It's hard for the parents. That's why they are the way they are. It's hard for the teachers. That's why they are the way they are. This is what passes for education in America, and so on and so forth, and blah, 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 yakety smackety. Nobody gives a goddamn. But in the end, the kids bear the brunt of this process and then evolve into the next generation of adults that tell the next generation of kids, get yours because I figured out how to get mine. Because that's basically all we seem to have for them. The numbers don't lie. This is borderline societal collapse because nobody knows how to do shit. We can do better and can't leave it up to the kids to figure it out. Now, the next time you decide to go on strike, you ask yourselves, what's in it for the kids? Not how they'll benefit from better conditions for you. Not how they'll benefit for smaller classroom, more days off, and all that bullshit. Really put some line items in the contract that will specifically, directly benefit the students. Things that can be useful not only for job security, for you, but for programs and resources that will directly benefit students. Stop acting like you're better than the students you serve. That's right, your job is a service job, a customer service job to be exact. And when is it ever okay to tell a customer that they're wrong in business? Especially when the business we speak of is their children. And if your panties got kicked up in your coochie when I said it, you're part of the problem. And probably one of those teachers the students I mentioned earlier was talking about. I hope you're not one of them other teachers, the ones that I said don't care about the kids or sexualize and predator, and prey on them. Hope you're not one of them. Now, we got to get out this mentality that everything is adversarial. The teachers, students, and parents are supposed to be a united team that works together on behalf of the students against the restrictive and prohibitive policies of the administration. They got y'all so fooled, though, that y'all believe that you enemies while the school administration, local municipalities just pull the strings in the background to keep y'all at each other's throats. You never realize who the real enemy is because they got you hating each other, disrespecting each other, all that. I'm not even going to dive too deep into the racial issue because it should be obvious by now that ain't nobody going to teach your kids to be better than theirs, and that's just common sense. I do find it weird, though, that so many non-melanated people end up teaching in melanated schools when the opposite cannot be accounted for percentage-wise. Let me give you an example now. Like, if black folks are 15% of the population in a certain town or a suburb, and are at or around 15% of the teaching staff or staff at the suburban school, we can look at that as a normal representation of the reality of that area. But when the neighborhood is 90% niggas, 98% niggas, and the teaching staff is 83% white, I do believe it's fair for us to have this conversation or ask these questions. Now, you ain't got to answer, but I'ma definitely ask. Now, I guess I'll close with this. We have allowed this thing to go on long enough. The kids need help, period. You can feel however you want about their neighborhoods, their parents, their mental state, or their socio-economic status. But what you absolutely cannot do is come to work and not do your damn job and expect that the very people that pay a portion of your salary ain't gonna have something to say about it. When you go on strike or need anything from the administration, you have no shame in coming to the people for support. Right now, I'm telling you, if you can't see it for your damn self, that the kids need our help. Are you going to step up to the challenge and be a motherfucker that loves to teach and teaches to love? Or are you going to continue to be one of them alcoholic, mediocre, goofball motherfuckers that ain't never accomplished shit in the field, but always got some judgment for the community, and especially for the progeny of my ghetto family? Get your weight up, educators. You're on the clock. That's my 2 cents. Peace.